Hello children, we are in the second chapter, Is Matter Around Us Pure? In the previous video, we learned about solutions and suspension, properties of solution and suspension. In this video, we will learn about properties of colloid. So let's start. Now colloids are those that appear to be homogeneous, but actually it is heterogeneous. Some common examples are soap solution, milk, ink, blood, jelly, starch solution. You can take example of milk. A milk looks homogeneous. It looks clean, it looks same throughout, but it is not. It is actually heterogeneous. It contains particle of fats. Colloids are also known as colloidal solution. So let us start with the properties of colloids. Now this is an example of soap solution. It looks homogeneous and it is not exactly transparent. We can say it is translucent. The first property of colloid is a colloid appears to be homogeneous, but it is actually heterogeneous. In this, you cannot see the solute particles. You cannot see it with our eyes. So it appears to be homogeneous, but it is actually heterogeneous. The size of solute particle is bigger than those in a true solution, but smaller than those in a suspension. So it is somewhere between 1 nanometer to 100 nanometer. So I can say that the size of solute particles, they are intermediate. It means it is bigger than solution but smaller than suspension. And the particles of solute cannot be seen with a microscope. The particles of colloid cannot be separated by filtration. It means if you filter the soap solution, the whole solution will pass easily through the filter paper. But no residue we cannot find any residue on the filter paper. So I can say that the components or the particles of colloid cannot be separated by filtration. Colloids are quite stable. We know the meaning of stable. It means when you keep colloid undisturbed for some time, the particles of colloid will not settle down. So I can say that colloids are quite stable. Now colloids scatter beam of light. It means they show Tyndall effect. That is, when you place a torch in front of colloid, you can see a beam of light or path of light inside colloid. Why? Because the particles of colloid are fairly large, and these particles, they can reflect the light rays falling on them. Because of that reason, we can see path of light inside a colloid. Now there are different types of colloid based on the solute and solvent. There are different types of colloid. So colloid can be classified according to the physical state of dispersed phase. Dispersed phase means solute, and the dispersion medium, it means solvent. So based on solute and solvent, there are different types of colloids. So let's study that. Now in this you can see the first one, solid in liquid, and the type is called as sol. Example, ink, soap solution, paint, mud. Next one, solid in solid. The type is solid sol. Example, colored gemstones, that is rubies. Next is solid in gas. The type is aerosol. Example, smoke or the exhaust coming out of automobile. Next one, liquid in liquid. The type is emulsion. Milk, face cream. Next one, liquid in gas. And the type is aerosol. Example, fog, clouds, mist, hairspray. Next one, liquid in solid. The type is gel. Example, jelly, cheese, butter, hair gel. Next one, gas in liquid. The type is foam. Example, shaving cream, soap bubbles, whipped cream. Next one, gas in solid. And the type is solid foam. Example, sponge, bread, pumice stone, cakes, etc. Okay. So this was classification of colloids. The next part is concentration of solution. Now we know how do we make a solution, right? When a solute is dissolved in a solvent, we get solution. Now some solution contains less amount of solute, while some solution contains more amount of solute. The solution having small amount of solute is said to have low concentration, and we call it as dilute solution. The solution having large amount of solute is said to have higher concentration, and it is called as concentrated solution. Okay, look in this picture. The glass on the left hand side, it is light pink in color. It means it contains less amount of solute. So you can call it as dilute solution. So as you keep on increasing the amount of solute, the color changes. And the glass on the right hand side, it is dark in color. Okay, so you can say that it has more amount of solute. It is a concentrated solution. So I can say that concentration is something which depends on the amount of solute. So concentration of a solution is the amount of solute present in a given quantity of the solution. Okay. Now if the solution is a solid dissolved in a liquid, then we can calculate concentration based on the mass percentage of solute. Okay. Concentration is generally calculated in terms of percentage. The formula for this is mass by mass percentage of a solution is equal to mass of solute upon mass of solution multiplied by 100. Okay, there's an example. A solution contains 40 gram of common salt in 320 gram of water. Calculate the concentration in terms of mass by mass percentage of the solution. Okay, so let us see how to solve it. Now first of all, find out what is given. So what is given? Salt, common salt is dissolved in water. So it means salt is the solute. So we know the mass of solute, that is 40 gram. Then the solvent is water. Okay, we know the mass of water, that is 320 grams. Okay, so now we'll write the formula. The formula is mass by mass percentage of a solution. That is equal to mass of a solute upon mass of solution multiplied by 100. We know mass of solute, that is 40 gram. But how to find the mass of solution? We know solution is made up of, when you combine solute and solvent, we get solution. So you have to add, that is 40 plus 320. When we add them, we get 360. Okay, so substitute the values in the formula and you will get the answer as 11.1%. Now this was solid dissolved in liquid. Now if the solution is liquid solute dissolved in liquid, okay, so we can calculate the concentration in the terms of volume percentage of solute. The formula for that is mass by volume percentage of a solution is equal to volume of solute upon volume of solution multiplied by 100. An example is given. A solution contains 50 ml of alcohol mixed with 150 ml of water. Calculate the concentration of the solution. So let's see. First of all, we'll write what is given. So what is given? Volume of alcohol, that is solute, is given, that is 50 ml. Then volume of water, that is solvent, is given 150 ml. Write the formula, mass by volume percentage of a solution. That is volume of a solute upon volume of solution multiplied by 100. We know volume of solute, but how to find the volume of solution? It is, you have to add the volume of solute and solvent. That is 50 plus 150. That will be equal to 100. Now substitute the values in the formula and find the answer. So the answer is 25%. Okay. Now, if I take a glass of water and to that if I add some amount of salt, what will happen? The salt will dissolve in that water. Then I can say that the solution is unsaturated. Again add more amount of salt to it. What will happen? The salt will again dissolve in the water. You can say that the solution is unsaturated. Like this, again if I add more amount of salt to it, so what will happen? A point will reach when the salt will not dissolve in the water. Okay, so that solution is called as saturated solution. Okay, so we had a glass of water, you have to add salt in it and keep on dissolving it. So that will be your unsaturated solution. Add more amount of salt. A point will reach when the salt will not dissolve in the water, and that solution is called as saturated solution. So depending upon the amount of solute, a solution can be classified into two groups. First one is saturated solution. Okay, the saturated solution is the one in which no more solute can be added at a specific temperature. Okay, it means we cannot add more solute. And unsaturated means in which more solute can be added without raising the temperature of the solution. It means you can add more solute and the solute will get dissolved in the solvent without increasing the temperature. Now, can I make a saturated solution into unsaturated solution? Yes, we can convert a saturated solution into unsaturated. So what I'll do, we will heat a saturated solution. So as you start heating, the water particles, they will go away from each other. So as they move away from each other, a space is created. Okay, as they will move away from each other, a space is created. So what is happening? It means we have more space. So it means that we can add more amount of solute to it. So that will be unsaturated solution. It means when we are increasing the temperature, or when we are giving temperature to saturated solution, it becomes unsaturated. And what happens if I cool this solution? So if I cool this solution, what will happen? The water particles, again it will come closer to each other. The space will decrease and the salt crystals will again come back in the water. Okay, and it becomes saturated. So if we decrease the temperature, so what will happen? All the dissolved solute will start coming out. Now, if I have 100 gram of water, okay, so to 100 gram of water, how much gram of salt can be added to make it a saturated solution? Okay, I have 100 gram of water. So how much gram of salt can be added to make it saturated solution? So I can add 36 gram of salt in 100 gram of water at 20 degrees Celsius to make it saturated. And that is what is known as solubility. So solubility is the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in 100 gram of solvent at a specific temperature. So it means if I add 36 gram of salt in 100 gram of water, I will get a saturated solution. It means only that much salt can be dissolved in the 100 gram of water. So solubility of salt at 100 gram of water in 100 gram of water is 36. Okay. Now you can look at this table, copper sulfate. So if I take 100 gram of water, to that if I add 21 gram of salt, so it means that only 21 gram of salt can be added in that 100 gram of water at a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. So solubility of copper sulfate in 100 gram of water is 21. Now when you look at sugar, so in 100 gram of water, I can add only 204 gram of sugar at 20 degrees Celsius. So solubility of sugar is 204 gram in 100 grams of water. Now let us see the effect of temperature and pressure on solubility. Now if the solution contains solid dissolved in liquid, it means the solute is solid and your solvent is liquid. Okay, let us take salt in water. Now salt in water, we know I can take only 36 gram of salt in 100 gram of water. That is the solubility. Now when I heat this solution, it means I am supplying temperature. So what will happen? As I supply temperature, the water particles will move away from each other. And because of this, space is created. So what will happen? As space is created, we can add more amount of solute. So it means solubility increases. So as we increase the temperature, the solubility increases. Now if I cool this solution, what will happen? The water particles will come close to each other. The space will get reduced. And what will happen? Then I cannot add more amount of solute. So the solubility will decrease. So as we decrease the temperature, the solubility decreases. Now let's see the effect of pressure on this. So there will be no effect of pressure. The solubility of solid and liquid remains unaffected by the change in pressure. Now let's see if our solution is gas dissolved in liquid. Example, soda water. Okay, that is carbon dioxide dissolved in liquid. Let us see the effect. Now, when you decrease the temperature, okay, when we decrease the temperature, what happens? The water particles, water particles will come closer. The water particles will come closer to each other. As they come closer, the space will reduce. And as space is reducing, the gas particles will remain trapped in that solvent. And because of that, solubility of gas increases. So when the temperature is lower, solubility increases. Now when the temperature is high, what happens? The water particles will move away from each other. So what happens? The space between them increases. So as space is increasing, the gas particles will escape out. What is happening? The solubility of gas is decreasing. Okay, so as we increase the temperature, solubility of the gas decreases. Now let's check effect of pressure. Now you must have seen a soda bottle. Okay, bottle of soda water. The top part of the bottle is empty. Okay, it has empty space. It means air is filled in it. Right? So when you open the bottle, what happens? Gas comes out. Okay, so as we are decreasing the pressure, as we are removing the pressure, the gas particles, they escape out. So the solubility of the gas decreases. Okay, but as we increase the pressure, if the bottle is closed, all the gas particles are trapped in that liquid. So the solubility increases. Okay, so on increasing the pressure, solubility of gas increases, and on decreasing the pressure, solubility of gas decreases. Okay, I hope you have understood, children. Thank you.